Hello, everyone, and welcome to another stream. This is Jay from ChainSafe Gaming. And if you're not familiar with ChainSafe, we're a research and development firm focused on Web3 full stack development. We help build protocols, write smart contracts, and manage open source libraries like Web3.js and our Web3 Unity SDK. Today, we're here to talk about the newest release of our Web3 Unity SDK with one of the engineers that led the effort. So, with that said, let's bring Nicola up to the stage. Hello, Nicola.
Hey everyone, I'm Nicola. I'm the senior engineering team lead here at Chainsafe Gaming, and I cannot be more proud about the latest release that we have made just a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, it's been amazing playing around with it, talking to you, going through the tutorials that we're releasing soon. So stay tuned for that. It's coming up soon. But let's get into some of the features for anyone who hasn't explored it yet. For you, what are the most exciting features in this new SDK? What should people be looking out for?
So the most exciting features are definitely the subscribing to the blockchain events is finally fully supported for all the platforms, including WebGL. So I'm pretty excited about that. And chain switching is now made super easy with literally just one line of code. You're switching to another chain. And last but definitely not least is the ABI to C# contract converter that is making the calls to the blockchain super seamless, super easy. And to top it off, I would also like to introduce the fact that you can now easily initialize the Web3 Unity instance with just one line of code, and you can immediately read things from the blockchain.
For me, that was the most amazing one. I actually have a clip of us being recorded, you showing it off to the team internally and seeing people's reactions. I want to just clip that and share it with other people because it's amazing. I was kind of mind blown, and there's so much that you can do with it. So let's hop into that particular feature because that's my personal favorite. So, what are the key benefits of the new contract ABI to C# converter?
Okay, so biggest benefit is that this feature is accustomed to the C# and Unity developers because it enforces static typing. And previously, how you were sending things to the blockchain, you would have to build a contract and then you would have to pass in the string of the method. The name of the method is a string, and then you would need to pass the array of objects that that method expects. And that thing is super error prone, mostly because you can maybe misspell name of the method. Maybe you misinput the parameters in order, or you maybe even put the wrong type of parameter inside of the array, and that can cause all sorts of issues for you, and it will be extremely hard to debug. And that is made now possible or easier with ABI to C# contract converter because it statically types all of the methods that the contract has inside of its ABI, and it also allows super easy event subscription because we'll talk about event subscription later on, but basically it allows you to subscribe to any blockchain contracts that are happening on that smart contract.
Yeah, so for me, I really love this feature because I'm not the best coder, but I know I can use like Open Zeppelin. I can deploy my contract and remix, grab my ABI, and then for a long time, I'm like, okay, what do I do next? I have to go through docs. I have to figure out how do I construct the calls in C#. And here it was beautiful. I showed it to our BD team internally and showed them. I took a contract, put it in there, pasted it in, and then it generated like 1,000 lines of code with all the different calls I would need. Some calls I wasn't even aware exist within the contract. I'm like, oh, I can do this. I can do this. So that was a really enlightening and awesome experience.
You're welcome.
Thanks. So now you mentioned subscribing to the blockchains. Can you go briefly over what is the event subscriptions? How do they work, and why are they important for a developer making a blockchain based game?
So I don't know how many of you are familiar with the fact, but you cannot read things from the smart that are be when you put a write function and that write function is returning a value, you cannot read the return value outside of the EVM itself. So there are technically two approaches that you can do there. You can either immediately after the write call, make a get call to get the updated state of the blockchain, or you can subscribe to an event that is potentially inside of that same uh, write call method, and you can immediately get the output from the blockchain without ever needing to invoke another method. Plus, you maybe want to track state of your game, of your specific smart contract over a long period of time. If somebody else interacts with your smart contract, you will get events. Hey, this guy interacted with this specific method. So you can also keep track of that. So it's a super useful feature that we're proud of, that we made.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. And I was thinking about a ton of different ideas where your game sees something happens on chain. Maybe someone purchased a new NFT, or they engage with a particular call or something like that, and you can give them a new experience depending on that data changing within your video game.
Exactly. That's a perfect that's a perfect use case as well.
Now, you mentioned multi-chain support, and I want to hop into that too because I think this is an important one. There's a lot of different game studios that have gone to a blockchain because of a grant or because some community, or maybe it's one of the first chains that they heard of. So they started to build on there. They have some NFTs. They're considering expanding. And up until now, there hasn't been a lot of options. So can you talk about this multi-chain support now and how can it improve game development workflows?
Yeah, for sure. Great example. You put out on a great example where somebody has an NFT on one chain, and for example, you as developer know about the existence of that NFT, and you can switch the chain inside of your game and check if that NFT exists on a different chain. If it does, you can add some bonus or something else to the player inside of the game without ever needing to solely rely on a single chain. So that creates great DevX for you, because if you have NFTs scattered across multiple chains, you can easily switch chains and check balances or track events or whatever with just a single SDK and a single Web3 Unity instance. Because previously, if you wanted to check multiple chains, you would have to create several Web3 instances in order to check all of the balances and things like that. But now we made it super easy to do it with just a single instance.
Yeah, for me, this is really powerful because I think a lot of games, and even me when I'm experimenting, I'm trying things out. I'm not sure if this is where I want to stay. And now this enables you to gain access to players on all these different blockchains. So even if I'm committed to one blockchain, but I see an audience who maybe is playing a complementary game, or they're touching on a similar meme that my game is touching on, now I can access those players without having to completely reconstruct my game. And that's a powerful tool now.
Yep, exactly.
Now, over the past few months, we've been talking more and more about how to integrate blockchains, and we've been introducing studios by giving them small components. You mint an NFT, you give a small thing to your players to experience, but there's something much more important that we're building to. And I know you, in particular, have been advocating for this. So I want to get into a bit of MUD and what is the significance of MUD? What is it, and how can game developers use it in their games?
I would say that MUD is a big milestone that we are adding to the SDK. Currently, it's the support that we have added is super basic and super limited, and it's not, in all honesty to everyone, not that C sharp friendly yet. Mostly, it's calling smart contracts from the MUD side and things like that from the specific namespaces. We are going to make that way better in the future releases, but for now we have just a basic mod support where you can write things to the where you can call mod systems and interact with them. Mod is basically some sort of a game framework that sits on chain, and I'm super excited that I will also be on the lecture on DevCon, where mud people will go like from beginner to pro with mud and solidity and all of that stuff. So that will also empower us to have more insight on how on-chain developers are actually using mud, so that we can kind of replicate that on the C sharp side, so that we can basically make one-on-one uh, code coverage on like the proper code coverage on C# side. So that will also make our SDK be the best in the world with mod support.
Yeah, and I definitely think this is the future. We've been talking about fully on-chain games for a few years now. Now we're seeing chains that are scaling, that are super cheap, and now we have frameworks to teach people how to build properly for fully on-chain games. So we're slowly realizing this future that we've all been envisioning, and it's fascinating to see it unravel. And it's great that you and the team have integrated it into our SDK. So I'm super excited for that. And as Nicola mentioned, they're doing an event at DevCon. So if you happen to be at DevCon, definitely check out the Mud event. Talk to us there. Learn about our SDK. Learn about what our plans are with Mud, and let's see what we can build together. I think it'll be an awesome experience for everyone there.
100%.
Cool. Now, another key component of our SDK, our dashboard interactions. We have a bunch of smart contracts that you can launch. You just fill out some information and you can easily launch NFT collection, loot boxes, and marketplaces. And for me, even though I could launch these things, interacting with them once they've been launched was a bit complicated, especially for someone who's not too familiar with coding, with Unity. And one of the big things that I think you've integrated into this SDK is the marketplace sample scene. So can you talk about how it empowers developers and allows them to create in-game economies now?
Yeah, for sure. We can maybe even jump into the demo that I have created that embeds a lot of different things, including marketplace, including token streaming and things like that. But essentially, having your own marketplace done in literally 10 clicks and with just, let's say, 3 uh, clicks on the Unity side, you're getting the full marketplace inside of your game. Listing all of the items that you have on our dashboard is pretty powerful, and I think it can make a big difference on your revenue stream, and the fact that you can super easily sell your NFTs and have the marketplace presented in your game makes so much difference for you as a blockchain developer, blockchain game developer.
Yeah, for me, there's a couple of key components why I loved this particular sample. The first is when we originally scoped out the marketplace and we spoke about what is it going to take for a developer to integrate this into the game. Our initial assumption was a month. Then a couple of weeks later, we had a high school student deployed in their game in 6 hours. And now with this sample scene, we put together a demo where we put it together in like half an hour, you and I. So
Yep.
it's dramatically reducing the amount of effort it takes for you to deploy an in-game marketplace. And for me, that's amazing. You know, that's a crazy experience. And you can buy directly in your game without having to have your users go to OpenSea or any third-party platform.
Yeah, and I think that's also like the one of the powerful things that people can buy things from your, like, inside of your game. That, like, in Steam you have the Steam marketplace. You in Epic Games you have their marketplace, but not a lot of them offer you the in-game marketplace, which I think also brings a lot of value for your game.
And as a side note, for any of the mobile developers or console game developers, we also created a plugin with Web3.js, so you can access those same smart contracts using Web3.js. If you'd like to learn more about that, you can reach out to us, and I can send you more info on that plugin. But we're maximizing the use of all of these smart contracts, both in our SDK and in web applications. Now, Nicola, you mentioned a demo. I think it would be awesome to hop into that demo, show people what's possible and what you've been recently building with our newest SDK.
Okay, but there are several demos that I can demo. I can first go through our best feature, like latest and greatest features, like ABI to C# contract converter, smart, sorry, the event support, and then we can hop onto the marketplace.
That sounds like a good flow to me.
Okay, so let's get into it. Let me share my entire screen here. Is it visible?
It should be visible now.
Awesome. Okay, now first thing that we're going to do is to go to Remix. And inside of Remix, I already have some sort of a basic contract called test contract. And I want to add one more feature, and that is the event. 1 second. So basically what I'm going to do is call here event number changed and pass in uint 256 number. And then inside of the increment number, I will pass in here emit and then pass in the number changed and pass in the number. This compiled perfectly. Let me grab the ABI and let me deploy this. I will use MetaMask. And I will be on B3 testnet because B3 is extremely fast, extremely cheap. Plus it's a testnet, so there is no need for me to think about any sort of cost. So let's set the initial number to be 0. Let's click on deploy. Confirm.
Okay, so you're deploying a simple smart contract that just increments, and then you're about to pull it into Unity.
Exactly. Let me check my block explorer because I need to check the smart contract address as well, because that's also one of the things that we need. And contract is created. Perfect. Let me go to the Web3 Unity introduction that I was creating tutorials on. And now comes the first part, and that is the ABI to C# contract converter. Let me call this simple counter for the name of the contract. Let's drag and drop the custom contracts folder where we're going to export the file. And this is the Solidity smart contract. Let me click on convert. And after literally 2 seconds or even less, the smart contract has been converted from ABI to C#. So now let me create a new script called Web3 Unity test.
And can you just quickly show the other file that was generated?
Yes, of course. So it has what? Almost 200 lines. And in here we have this increment number as a method. And we also have this increment number with receipt because maybe you want to know the transaction hash that your transaction has made. So we made these two methods, like increment number and increment number with receipt, because transaction receipt itself, if we look at the source code, has the transaction hash, transaction index, and other things that are might necessary for you to know for whatever reason. And then in here we have generated all the events that are necessary, like we have this number changed event. And these are all the default implementations that are not necessary for you to know. So now let's go back to the Web3 Unity test and let's see how easy it is to get that smart contract and how to interact with it. So let's create the simple counter variable here. And in the awake, we need to subscribe to the Web3 Unity dot Web3 initialized. And let's call a method Web3 initialized because you need to build your simple counter smart contract inside of the Web3 initialized method, because Web3 initialized can get invoked once or twice, depending on if you'll see what I'm talking about. So let me just debug that log here, obj.isLightweight. And let me go just quickly to on destroy, just so that people can see what I'm talking about. So let me click on play. Ah, yes, of course. I forgot to add the script to the SDK to the Web3 Unity test. Okay, I think my Unity kind of crashed for whatever reason. Can I just quickly stop the stream? Okay, we're back. Let me drag and drop this here. Let's click again on play. And we'll see that I got true in the debug log. And that is because as soon as you open the game or your project that has the Web3 Unity prefab as part of the scene, we are immediately trying to initialize the Web3 Unity instance. And is lightweight means that it doesn't have any wallet bound directly to the instance. So that means that you cannot call any functions that are related to writing things to the blockchain. And that is important because inside of our simple counter, we have the increment number method. And you cannot call increment number method if you don't have the wallet bound, because that will actually throw an exception. So if I
So
click
here,
on connect, sorry.
so here you're essentially setting up so that if you want to only read data, you have the option to read data. And then if you
Yes,
want, you could also have the option to write data. So there may be some use cases where you just want to see what's happening on the blockchain, maybe have something happen in your game, but not process a transaction. So now you have those two options.
exactly. So that wasn't possible in the previous versions of the SDK. So let me quickly just authenticate through Web3 Auth. And you see here that now the is lightweight option is written as false because I have successfully bounded a contract to I have successfully bound the wallet to my Web3 instance. Now let's go back to the Web3 initialized method and let's actually build the simple counter. And we are building that smart contract by typing obj.web3.contractbuilder.build, and we will pass in the type simple counter. And the parameter it needs is a string for the address. And the address is this one. So let me just await this, make this method async. And now you can use all the functionality from the simple counter. For the sake of testing, let me just showcase what we have here. We have this address, subscribed, ABI, event manager. All of these are basically not important to you, but you have this number. Then you have get number, increment number, which are actually, if you remember, the methods from the smart contract that we have created. So they are this. So we have this get number, we have increment number, and number here is that field because it's public, but we're not going to use that. But if I type in here get number and I await this call and debug.log like this, we will immediately get, I don't know what's going on with Unity waiting so long.
Yeah, I wrote a post about this the other day that it takes longer for Unity to build your scenes to compile than it does to actually integrate the blockchain components.
Exactly. So this is unpleasant experience. Maybe it has to do with one of the bugs that we had. But let me dispose all of my Unity instances. Maybe it's also something on the Unity side. I mean, it is because when I was recording tutorials, this was never happening.
Yeah, it's also the stream along with running Unity. That's a lot.
Let's see. Come on.
But I think we've seen some cool things so far. Like I mentioned earlier, if I'm looking at the smart contract, I don't necessarily know what all those calls are or how to construct them. They're already constructed out of the box. You just type in the method you want to call, and you can get started right away.
Exactly. And now we immediately got the 0 printed out here. So let's. Yes. Okay. I know what's going on. Um, but we'll talk about it later. And one very important thing that people need to do as well is they need to type in here if simple counter is not equal to null, they need to call if they have any events that are happening in the smart contract, they need to call dispose async because it's quite important to dispose them because there are some connections to the WebSockets that need to be closed once your application is being closed. Otherwise, it will stall your application like it has done with ours. Let's see if it shouldn't break now. Yeah. Now, let's see how event subscription also works. Let me click on force event polling because we have two options on how people can subscribe to the blockchain events. First one is by people being directly connected to the WebSockets through the WebSockets, and that's possible for example, editor, standalone, mobile, but it's not possible for WebGL. And not all of the chains have the ability or don't have the WebSocket connection as part of their chain list. So what we advise people to do is to click on this force event polling that will basically send RPC requests every polling interval seconds that will then filter out all the events that have happened. Like, it's not the best solution, but unfortunately there is no other way for people that are on WebGL to check if an event has happened. So also be mindful about the resources because, for example, if you have 100 players inside of your game and 100 players are bombarding the RPC with requests, your data or your, if you're, for example, on Chainlink or on what is it called, the one that we have in the documentation, where you're setting up the RPC node, or you're in Fura, you can drain your credits super fast. So be very mindful also about that. Let me just check the project settings. This is Sepolia. Let me remove the Optimism Sepolia. So now you see that B3 Sepolia doesn't have the custom webhook. So I need to enforce that we are using event polling. And why is that? Let's actually create a write function. So let's remove this get number and let's type in here simple counter dot, and we have here the on number change event, and it's nice because it actually looks exactly like you would expect any event to look like for you as a C# developer. Let me type in here number changed, and let me type in here debug log. Our number has changed, and let me pass in here plus obj dot number because that's the new value of this number. And let's check if, let me do also one more thing, that simple counter dot increment number, and we're incrementing it by 1. And as you saw on the smart contract side, we are returning the number. So let me just debug that logit because I just want to show that you really don't get the return value out of the EVM at all. So you need to do either this, or you can do something like await simple counter that get number, but I wouldn't advise you to do so, but just use events. It's more convenient. And because we're subscribing here, let's also unsubscribe in here so that we don't have any memory leaks in our game.
So while that's compiling, I just wanted to say, if you have any questions, I know we're going through a lot of stuff here. Feel free to type it in the chat. We will see those questions so we can answer on the fly.
Yeah, please do. So let me click on play. And because we are going to have a wallet, the transactions will go on automatically. So it should take a couple of seconds. Okay, we got 0 here. And after 2 seconds, we should get our number has changed and the actual value is 1. And this is the value that we got from the increment number, which is the default one, which is 0. So it doesn't make sense for you to print out or store any information that is from the method that is writing to the blockchain, because you're always going to get the default value. And in order to get the ability to subscribe to the blockchain events, you need to add to the Web3 Unity prefab object a component called event service adapter. That's also a very important thing because it's not there by default, because we don't want to burden developers with unnecessary features that they might not even want to use inside of their game.
Awesome. So while you were going through this, I realized that just with a simple incrementer, that's the foundation of a cookie clicker. So if you want, you could basically use this to build a fully on-chain like cookie clicker that monitors these events once they hit certain thresholds. Then you have the upgrades like any other cookie clicker game you could play around with.
Exactly. And I think this will be, I really think that what we've created with the 3.0 is by far one of the best. We made basically one of the best SDKs out there, in my humble opinion.
Yeah, I definitely think it has awesome features. And since we were mentioning the cookie clicker idea, I definitely want to challenge anyone who's listening out there to take a simple incrementing smart contract, use our ABI converter, test it out, try to build a fully on-chain cookie clicker game, and let us know how that experience is and share it with us. We'd love to try it out.
Definitely. Please just write to us and we'll be more than happy to help you out even on the journey if you have any questions in regards to the SDK.
Nice. So you went over our C# converter. You gave a brief intro on the multiple support for blockchains. You mentioned another demo. Do you want to hop into that one?
Sure. Let me just let me see where it is. It's here, I think. Let me see if I'm on the correct branch there. I think I am, but just want to be double sure. Yep, I am. So let me just that demo showcases the marketplace and one of the features from our colleagues at Superfluid, the token streaming, which is quite a big thing in my opinion.
I definitely
And
agree. I have a ton of ideas with this token streaming idea. So it'll be awesome for others to see it and see what they think.
sure, so Quantum sample menu. I've built this with Photon Quantum and I'm actually creating a course on it so that you can create beautiful multiplayer experiences. So you'll see that in like a month or something like that. So let's connect the wallet. We have this same uh, wallet connect model because it's mandatory for you to connect the wallet. And I literally made this sample or integrated our Web3 Unity and made superfluid samples and marketplace and everything inside of this game in less than 2 working days, with where I also had a bunch of meetings. So it can easily be done in like a day if somebody has zero abstractions. So here we have the marketplace where we have these golden AK-47s. Now, what's very important here is that those golden AK-47s are lying on B3 Sepolia, but the tokens that we are going to showcase next are on the Optimism Sepolia. So they're on two different chains, but we can easily interact with both chains thanks to the mechanism of chain switching inside of our SDK. So if I want to purchase it, I'm getting this pop-up, and this pop-up is actually one of the coolest features also from the SDK that I completely forgot to mention. I thought it was in the previous release, but it's not. So this is the Web3 Auth wallet, where we have the full GUI for the Web3 Auth wallet, because previously, as you saw in the previous demo, I was easily able to just call the right call to the blockchain and it would go through. But now we have added an additional layer of security so that Web3 Auth mimics the real wallet or real app wallet, because it prompts you to accept or reject a transaction. You can also add some of your custom tokens, and you can also transfer your tokens to somebody else. These are Sepolia test tokens. These are not real, just so that you know that. And once I accept the transaction, it should pop up here, and I can go to the block explorer and see the status of it. And the purchase has been successful. I think it was the number 17 or 18. So the purchase has been successful. Let me click on quick play and let me connect to the game. And now, because I have this
The golden AK.
yeah, sorry. Because I have this golden AK, that means that I can pick it up. Let me see where it is. To be honest, I forgot where I placed it. Do you see it? Uh,
You need
it's
a
here.
different
Yeah,
color
it's here.
or something on it.
Yeah, I should have made it a bit more. Wait. Oh my God. Sorry. So basically, this is the classic battle royale game where you're shooting people, they're shooting you, but it has that Web3 twist. So now I'm picking up the AK, and now you see what's happening. Because I have that NFT, the token streaming has started, and I should be getting more tokens every 2 seconds. So once you have an NFT, it actually gives you an actual power inside of your game, because now you picked it up and you also purchased it in the marketplace. Because if you didn't purchase it and you picked it up, you don't own it. That means the token streaming is not starting, and it doesn't make sense for you to have that golden AK. But now that you have the golden AK purchased and you actually own it, once you pick it up inside of the real game, it gives you additional value because it's streaming you more money to your wallet, and that brings significant more value to the NFT that you have purchased.
Yeah, I love this idea. We've been talking about this. One of my favorite things about working in an R&D firm is the opportunity to experiment with cool things that don't exist, bring them to life. And with this, what I've recently been thinking about is that this is a new way for you to manage airdrops. If you have a token and you want to start with a strong community, instead of giving it away to people who are farming, who are doing random activities, you can slowly give a little bit of your token over to the players who are actually purchasing assets, who are in the game, who are going through that experience and building your community with you, as opposed to someone who's leeching off of it. To me, that was the most fascinating idea that's come out of this.
Yep, that's an amazing use case, Jay, to be honest.
And I think I've also mentioned this to a couple of our colleagues. You can also even do things where, like, let's say there's a huge open space world and there's a bunch of resources. There's an asteroid. You can mine gold. You can mine all these other assets. If you own an NFT that's, let's say, a drill, Now you go to this other territory, you occupy it. For every second that you're occupying that territory, now you're getting medals streamed to your wallet. And then you could potentially battle each other over those territories to see who's getting the streamed assets any given time.
Yeah, we hmm, maybe after the DevCon we can make some sample like that. You know.
Yeah, I have tons of ideas with this. I definitely think going into next year, a lot of teams are going to be excited to look at this, take this approach, especially like I mentioned for token drops. This is a whole new way to do it and a more effective way of engaging with your community.
Yeah, I honestly can't wait for people to start utilizing it.
Yeah, and I know you're working on some other demos, some cool ways to show this off. So if you're interested in token streaming, reach out to us. We have a couple of demos we're putting together, working with other teams to bring this to life. And as you've seen here, we already have it working. So reach out to us if you want this in your game.
I think the demo session is over. And please let us know what you think about the demos that we have put together. And yeah, thank you, Jay, for hosting this. I don't know, is there any other topic that we need to go over?
Yeah, so I have a couple of things that we can touch on. So
Awesome.
you've seen, people develop games from the very beginning of the SDK all the way up until now. What do you think are the most common challenges that developers face with Web3 integration, and what can they use in this SDK that addresses most of those problems that they've run into in the past?
I think the biggest issue that uh, developers have faced is, hmm, in all honesty, the SDK was very good even with version 2.5, but there was still a lot of manual work that we required developers to do in order to make the SDK work properly. So they need to create, for example, custom scripts that would uh, they need to invoke when the Web3 gets initialized so that they go to another scene. They didn't have event subscription. They were facing a lot of challenges with the ABI issues with smart contracts. So I think we've really nailed all of those major issues inside of this version of the SDK, where everything is basically drag and drop, and everything is so focused on developers and their experience that they can literally do everything in just a couple of clicks.
Yeah, I love it so much. It's been a great experience playing around with it, and I can't wait till after DevCon, mostly to put together tutorials, demos, showing people all the smart contracts that exist out there and how easy it is to bring those into your game now.
Yeah, we can maybe then do this stream again where we are going to bump in a lot of random smart contracts inside of our SDK. It chews it up, spits out a perfect C# class, and then we do whatever we want with it.
Yeah, that would be super awesome. If you're watching the stream right now and you have a smart contract you've always wanted to interact with, have no idea how to do it, let us know. Send us some smart contracts, and we'll show you how easy it is to integrate into our SDK. Cool. Now, of course, with everything with software, there's always going to be bugs. There's always some things that arise, maybe things that we've pushed out that aren't perfect, or like you're mentioning earlier with the mud, we're slowly integrating it. So, what are maybe some known issues that developers should keep in mind, and how we plan to address them?
We are constantly on the lookout on Discord and on our GitHub page where developers are always notifying us about new bugs that are arising, and we are doing it like all the time. We are trying to address them. Most of the times there are things on our end that we weren't aware that we've missed. For example, the Web3 initialized event wasn't even part of the initial 3.0.0, and then we realized once I started building a demo, I was like, no, 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 this is way too complex for developers to do it. We need to have an event. So we are really constantly trying to put the developers' experience first. And there were some bugs that some developers noticed, and we immediately published hotfixes like that same day. But the biggest issue that I can say is that on WebG, like if you're using mobile phone and you're trying to use our SDK on mobile browser, like you have a game on itch.io, for example, and you want to interact with it through the mobile phone and your mobile browser, it's going to be a pain because we don't have the proper WebGL integration done with Wallet Connect or Reown, but that will be addressed in the next month. So like early December or mid-December, we will release a version where that thing will be resolved, because currently it's almost impossible for you to properly interact with your mobile wallets while you are on your browser like Safari or Chrome on Android. So we will address them in December, because that's a big issue. That's a big feature that we need to address.
Yeah, I appreciate your honesty. So if you are a developer, you have a WebGL game, and you want your users to be on mobile, definitely keep up with our updates for our next release. And a lot of the things that we put into this SDK, I've seen comments about it, like for Web3 Auth, some people are asking about their addresses and how to track things. So that's where the GUI came out of. For marketplaces, people wanted a sample that they can just spring up, modify with aesthetics, and kind of point to their contracts. And that's how the marketplace sample scene came about. So if you have anything in particular, any issues you're running into, or any new ideas that maybe we haven't thought about, post it in the Discord server. We're monitoring it and we're using it to improve our products. Now, you kind of touched on an update that's coming out that's important for the next month. But can you share any other features, maybe some things you're excited about to see in the next coming release for the Unity SDK?
Yes, the new release will go out live next week, I think, and it will have an updated GUI for some of the wallet providers. Like it will be super fancy and like proper animations and all of that stuff. And we are also not ditching, but we updated Wallet Connect, so it will not be Wallet Connect anymore, but it will be Reown. So we made the proper switch to Reown, and that's why in the next month we are going to work hard on releasing Reown WebGL implementation. That's what I was talking about. And one of the coolest features that will finally be super developer friendly is lootbox sample that will not require like local wallet, Anvil, or something like that. But you will literally plug in, put your smart contract address of your lootbox that you have managed on our dashboard, and you would just click play, and you would be able to see how easy it is to create a loot box and take everything from it, or not take everything, but like you can open it up as long as the you have loot inside of it.
Awesome. I'm definitely looking forward to the loot box mechanic. I think it's always fun to open up a box, see what prize you get, whether it's an NFT, currencies. So it's going to be great for it to be easily accessible in a sample scene. And it's a great monetization tool for game studios that are out there that are experimenting, trying to figure out how to make their economy sustainable. So it'll be an awesome feature for game developers to have.
Exactly, especially with the DevCon, for example, where we are also running our loot drop show, so to say, throughout the entire DevCon. This way, developers now inside of the Unity SDK, developers can get basically the same experience with their own loot, and I think that brings a lot of value. And they can literally copy paste the code to their own game with the proper contract addresses, and their loot will be ready at the same time as the marketplace one. So in a matter of 30 minutes, 1 hour maximum.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane. And Nicola, as you mentioned, we published a blog on this maybe a few hours ago or yesterday. Our time zones are a little bit weird. But read about our loot box campaign. If you're interested in participating in that, you can feel free to reach out to me directly. There's still time to onboard different teams, from artists, game studios. If you want people to explore Bangkok and find your assets in the real world and in the digital world, this is a great opportunity to test it out. And it's free to participate. So reach out to me and we can get you onboarded. Now, we went over a lot of different features, um, and there's a lot to take in besides just watching this video. So, what are some resources that are available for developers to get started with the SDK and maximize their potential?
Uh, I think this stream is a good starting point as well, but we have the documentation that we are constantly updating, and YouTube tutorials that I have created 4 videos in total that are covering the basics of how to integrate our SDK, how to add Web3 auth as an login provider, how to get started with the basics of the blockchain. Everything will be in there. I don't have the ETA when those will be published. Maybe Jay has some better insights on that.
It'll be coming out in the next few weeks, so watch out for that. I would say subscribe to our YouTube, our Chain Safe YouTube, so that you can get notified once those videos are out. They'll be coming out shortly. And as Nicola mentioned, you can always visit our docs to learn our tutorials, our SDK updates, and keep up to date there.
And of course, you can always reach out on our Discord server where we are almost 24/7. I mean, not 24/7, but 24/6, so to say, because on Sundays or some days on the weekends we might not answer. But basically, we're covering a lot of time zones, so we are answering in a couple of minutes or dozens of minutes to anybody that has any question. So please, if something inside of the docs or tutorials is not clear, reach out to us. We will be more than glad to help.
Awesome. So now we're getting close to the end of our stream. So how can the audience stay up to date with you personally with our updates? Well, you kind of mentioned with the Discord server and stuff, so we covered that. But how do they stay up to date with you? And do you have any last messages for our viewers?
I have, ping me on LinkedIn, on Discord, on Twitter or X. But on Twitter, I'm not speaking that much about Web3 space. I cover a lot of different topics there. But Discord and LinkedIn are by far the best ways where you can contact me. And what message do I have for you? Like, just be patient about some of the cool stuff that we are going to release. But you already have enough to create some of the most amazing experiences that people can have inside of their games 100%. And please share those things with me and with Jay and with the Chain Safe in general.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm excited to see people explore this new SDK, see what they come up with. And like Nicola mentioned, let us know what feedback you have, what features you would like to see in the next release, because we definitely want to build the best SDK that's possible. All right. Well, thank you, Nicola, for jumping onto the stream. Awesome demos. There's a lot of cool things to look forward to. We'll be meeting here at DevCon in Thailand. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. And thank you for joining the stream.
You're welcome. Thank you for hosting this. It was an amazing experience, and see you in 3 days.
Sounds good. I'll see you then. Bye.
Bye bye.
Well, you heard it here. There's a ton of different updates coming out with this SDK, from chain switching to our ABI converter. Test it out. Give us some feedback. If you're at DevCon and you want to meet with our team, I want to say about a quarter of our team is going to be here. So please reach out to us. Let's set up some meetings. If you're interested in token streaming, marketplaces, want to see our new GUIs that we built out for wallets, or if you want some custom development, you have some ideas, you want to just brainstorm with us and you'd love to have some feedback, reach out to us. We'll all be here at DevCon. So I hope everyone has a great day and we will see you later. Bye-bye.